The US has made no concessions to the main Russian demands over Ukraine and NATO in a long-awaited written response delivered to Moscow, Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said. Vladimir Putin had made a series of demands over Ukraine, including that it would never join NATO, that the alliance's arms and forces be kept out of Eastern Europe, especially removing missiles within striking distance of Russia, and a guarantee of autonomy for Eastern Ukraine. The Kremlin had said the demands should be addressed right away, right now. But Mr. Blinken said the U.S. response gave no ground on core principles such as NATO's open-door membership policy and the alliance's military presence in Eastern Europe. The written response was delivered to the Russian Foreign Ministry by U.S. Ambassador to Russia John Sullivan yesterday evening. Mr. Blinken added that the document made clear that the U.S. is standing by its often stated positions. There is no change, there will be no change, he said. However, he said the written response to Russia also contains serious offers for a diplomatic path to de-escalate soaring tensions over Ukraine by addressing concerns on other matters. Putin's spokesperson said the president was still mulling over the response but added there was little room for optimism after an initial reading and that Moscow's main concerns are being ignored. Dmitry Peskov, Putin's spokesman, said Thursday that Putin is still mulling over the letters from U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and NATO Chief Jens Stoltenberg, which are thought to have ruled out the possibility of Ukraine being banned from the alliance and the removal of troops from ex-Soviet states that Moscow wanted. Peskov said there is little room for optimism after an initial reading and that Moscow's main concerns are being ignored, but left the option of further talks open, at least for now. We won't rush with our assessments, he said. Russia has warned it would quickly take retaliatory measures if the US and its allies rejected its demands. Mr. Blinken said he expects to speak again to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in the coming days to get the Russian reaction. But he said that whether Russia accepts them is entirely the decision of President Vladimir Putin. That is up to President Putin, he said. We'll see how they respond. The U.S. proposals, echoed in a separate document sent to the Russians by NATO, include the potential for negotiations over offensive missile placements and military exercises in Eastern Europe as well as broad arms control agreements as long as Russia withdraws its estimated 100,000 troops from the Ukrainian border. Moscow has demanded guarantees that NATO will never admit Ukraine and other ex-Soviet nations as members and that the alliance will roll back troop deployments in former Soviet bloc nations. Some of these, like the membership pledge, are non-starters for the US and its allies, creating a seemingly intractable stalemate that many fear can only end in a war. The Kremlin has repeatedly denied it has plans to attack Ukraine, but the US and NATO are worried about Russia massing its troops near Ukraine and conducting a series of sweeping military maneuvers. As part of the drills, motorized infantry and artillery units in southwestern Russia practiced firing live ammunition. Warplanes in Kaliningrad on the Baltic Sea performed bombing runs, dozens of warships sailed for training exercises in the Black Sea and the Arctic, and Russian fighter jets and paratroopers arrived in Belarus for joint war games. Speaking to Russian lawmakers, Mr. Lavrov said he and other top officials will advise Mr. Putin on the next steps after receiving the U.S. reply. If the West continues its aggressive course, Moscow will take the necessary retaliatory measures, Mr. Lavrov said. But he indicated Russia would not wait forever. We won't allow our proposals to be drowned in endless discussions, he said. In a separate development, presidential advisors from Russia, Ukraine, France and Germany met for more than 5 hours in Paris on Wednesday over the long-running conflict in the eastern part of the country involving Moscow-backed separatists. Although there was no breakthrough, they promised to meet for new talks in 2 weeks in Berlin. The French president's office said in a statement after the talks that the parties support unconditional respect for a ceasefire in eastern Ukraine. The talks focused on the 2015 Minsk peace agreement aimed at ending the conflict, and the statement did not address the current concerns about a Russian invasion. Ukrainian Representative Andrei Yermak said the meeting went hours longer than expected and marked the first real advance in talks since December 2019. He said the talks organized by the French and Germans were crucial even when things were not so tense, and now we know it more than ever.